Welcome everyone to the webinar with our friends from ERC. My name is Jan, and I want to say hi to Kath, Ashley, and Hafa, and soon we'll be introducing a few other people. Ashley, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello, my name's Ashley Brown, and I am the founder of this course. I created it back in 2019 because I wanted to give people, I realized that there were many people who wanted to learn about ecosystem restoration as an introduction, and there wasn't really a course out there that fitted that bill. And I was in a position to create one and was connected to lots of amazing teachers across the world through the ERC network. And so the course came to be, and it's now entering its 5th round. It's trained over 550 people, some of whom are here with us today. So we'll hear from them in a bit. Yeah, would now be the time to share my PowerPoint?
Yep.
Yeah. Alrighty. So I prepared some photos for you to give you a bit of a rundown about the course. Can everyone see this okay? Yeah, I'm guessing take that as a yes.
Yes.
Great. Okay, so this course is called Ecosystem Restoration Design, and the reason that it's called that is because there is a chance at the end of the course to do a design project with a group of students, and I'll explain more about that in a minute. So the course has 5 modules, and the first module is about natural ecosystems, and in each module, apart from the 5th one, there are 4 lessons, and in each lesson you go through a different, you journey to a different place around the world and meet with an ecosystem restoration professional who has been working to restore an ecosystem in their country or a country where they're living. And this here is a photo of the Caledonian Forest in Scotland, and the course kicks off with a lesson from Alan Watson Featherstone, who we're lucky to have with us here today, who is a legend in the world of ecosystem restoration, has been restoring this what once great forest in Scotland, and he shares how he came to be able to do that and how it all went. So you'll learn from him first. Then we hear from a guy called John Button, who spent years and years in India restoring a tropical forest. And it was really, really kind of degraded and nothing growing there at all. And then it turned into this lush tropical forest through his work with local people there. And he explains how he did that. Then we go on to learning about deserts from Neil Spackman. This is a before and after photo of a project that he worked on in Saudi Arabia. And as you can see, you know, this is somewhere that has so little rainfall. Maybe it rains like once every 3 years or something. And him and his team transformed this area. And now the government of Saudi Arabia is rolling this out across the rest of the country. So you'll be learning from him, which is a really exciting project, what he's managed to achieve. Then we go on to the restoration of coral reefs with 2 different practitioners in this field, one called Celia and another called Delphine, and they work on 2 separate projects, but we wanted to include both of them because they have different approaches. And this is Celia's approach, which is to create these beautiful sculptures of goddesses and lower them down into the water and seed coral onto them for divers to pay to go and visit as a way to fund coral restoration. So you'll learn about that. Then we move on to module 2, which is about restoring land using agriculture, or what we call productive restoration. And then there are many ways to do that. And in the first lesson of module 2, you'll learn about agroforestry with Patrick Worms, who works for the World Agroforestry Centre. And this is a slide showing a design of an agroforestry system that comes straight out of his lesson. Then we learn about holistic grazing with Precious Piri, who has been working across sub-Saharan Africa, training people who are kind of grazers to stop overgrazing and start grazing holistically. And you can see the effects of the before and after photos here, and she talks all about that. Then we look at permaculture, specifically permaculture in semi-arid and arid areas, with Ramis Kent, who worked on this project here called Greening the Desert with Jeff Lawton in Jordan. And this is a very small area that they've managed to regreen. You can see all around it is super desertified. And he explains how they did that. Then we move back to the ocean for a lesson on seaweed farming with a guy called Joost Wouters, who runs a seaweed farming company. And you can see here, this is lifted straight from his lesson where he explains exactly how he does that. And then module 3 is about urban restoration. And it kicks off with a teacher called Lisa Shaw, who runs something called Biomatrix Water, and they transform urban waterways. Again, these are photos from her lesson, a super concretey, ugly, no habitat at all, canalized river in a city. And then one that has had its natural buffer and vegetation put back in. And she teaches you all about doing that. And then we have a lesson from Dan Blycrott, who is going to be here with us in a bit to share more about his lesson. And he plants tiny forests in cities. And this is an example of a tiny forest in the Netherlands. And a planting plan for that tiny forest, which again has been lifted from his lesson. Then we learn about urban food growing and the intricacies of doing that. And, you know, it's quite difficult to do, to make a living from growing food in a city on such a small piece of land. And the teacher, Rishi Kumar, talks about his ideas for how to make it financially viable. And then we learn about regenerative architecture. So this is a project called Navi Village in Mexico, where these houses are restorative for the land. So it's actually in a very desertified area, this project. And all of the energy that is used within the house is cycled, and the water and nutrients flow out onto the land and regreen it with native species. So that's the urban module. Then we move on to business models. How do you fund ecosystem restoration? And we learn from Common Land about this 4 returns framework, which is essentially like a business plan in an A1 sheet of paper, where you fill in these boxes basically, and then you have a business plan on one piece of paper, which is a really helpful way of doing it. And Common Land talks you through how to create one, and has an example from one of their businesses that they work with that is growing tea. So that's really good. Then we look at 2 regenerative business examples. This one is called Tree Range Chicken. It's a really regenerative agriculture system where they have agroforestry of different kinds, and then they graze chickens through the trees. And he tells you about that business and gives you some insights into how it works. I didn't put a slide in for this, but there's also a lesson on that's by me and my team at the ERC Foundation about the different business models that the ecosystem restoration communities are running. And then finally, once you've gone through all of that amazing learning, you get into a group for module 5 and you produce a plan for a real life site, and you create a presentation at the end that you give to the other students, and you're given templates and all of the information on how to create such a plan. And this is the final project for what is now an ecosystem restoration community in France called Versailles. And the owners of this project were students on this course and then went on to create their own restoration project and are part of the ERC movement. So that's it, basically. Apologies if it was a bit rapid. I only had 5 minutes, but I hope that gives you more of an idea of what is included in the course. Thanks a lot.
Wonderful. Thanks, Ashley. And I'll quickly just introduce myself and Gaia Education. I'm part of the e-learning team of inside Gaia Education, and we are the partners who do the logistics of the course. So we have the platform and we take care from the registrations from until the moment that you get your certificate. And as Ashley pointed out, we have this course is separated in 5 modules, and we are running it for the 5th time this time. It has been a really nice journey so far, and we are happy to continue it in 2024, and looking forward to knowing more people that are interested. So it's amazing to be here with you all. And what else? I think we will be for the rest of this session, which won't last more than 80 minutes. We will be meeting a few of our teachers and some of the participants that took the course that can share a little bit about their experience. And by the end, we'll explain a little bit how the registration works and open for a short Q&A. So that's the main idea for the session today, and I hope you enjoy it. And I think, Ashley, if you can introduce the teachers.
Yeah, I'd love to. We'll welcome Alan. Alan Watson Featherston is the man that I told you about earlier, who has been restoring the Caledonian forest for decades and was one of the first people to start doing rewilding in Scotland, and has inspired many, many people around the world to start restoring temperate forests and ecosystems in general. So yeah, Alan, welcome. We'd love to hear a bit about you and what your lesson covers.
Okay, thanks, Ashley, and hi, everybody out there. I'm very pleased to be here and telling you a bit about the course and my contribution to it. So first, a little bit about myself. I live in the Findhorn Eco-Village in northeast Scotland. I've been here since 1978, and in 1979 I made my first visit to Glenafric, a valley to the west of Inverness, about an hour and a half from where I live, which has one of the best remnants of the Caledonian forest. And I began going there quite regularly at the same time that I was working in one of the gardens in the Findhorn Eco-Village, developing my personal relationship with nature, opening myself and discovering that the way I worked, the quality with which I worked, with a sense of care and love, made a real difference. And with that heightened sensitivity, going out into Glenafric, I saw that the forest was calling out for help, basically. It was only old trees, 250 years old, and they were dying of old age. It's like going to an old people's home. And there were no young trees because they were all getting eaten by deer. Too many deer, no predators left. And I really felt somebody needs to do something about this, otherwise the forest will disappear. So in 1986, I spent a year organizing a big conference on the environment, 300 participants, and in the end, we asked people to make a commitment to do something positive for the planet. So my commitment was to launch a project to restore the Caledonian forest. And I worked with that through a charity called Trees for Life for over 30 years. And that forms the basis of my lesson in this course. So it's on restoring temperate forests, and it's using my work in the Caledonian forest in Scotland as an example of that. And the course that I teach looks at what is the state of degradation in the forest, what species are missing, what ecological processes are not taking place, and why is it in such poor condition. And then we focus on the work that I've done and my colleagues have done and are still continuing to do to help restore it. The simple methods, helping achieve natural regeneration, planting trees where necessary, assisting species with difficulty in propagation or reproduction, and so forth. Another part looks at the challenges and problems that we faced. And then the final section focuses on how we address those, how we faced up to those obstacles and found ways to overcome them. So there's a lot of practical information in it. And although it's specific to the Caledonian forest, a lot of the principles and the techniques can be applied in any ecosystem in other parts of the world, because many ecosystems face similar problems, that humans are suppressing the natural ability of an ecosystem to recover. For me, the earth literally is a living being. And just as me as a living being, if I injure myself, if I cut my hand, a scab forms, and under the scab, the skin repairs itself and my body heals. The earth does that too, but humans are preventing it in most places. So the work that I've been involved in is saying, how can we stop preventing that natural recovery process? And then how can we help assist and accelerate it? Because that's what a good doctor does. They help the broken bones in a body to heal more quickly. So how can we help a degraded and fragmented ecosystem to recover? And that's really the gist of what my lesson is about. So I don't know how much time I've got, but that's it in a nutshell. I'm happy to say more if there's more space or time, but maybe somebody else can take over.
That's wonderful. Thanks, Alan. So one suggestion is that if you have any urgent question for one of the presenters, you can save that for the end of the call. Even though we are trying to focus on any question that you might have around registering and so on, but there will be space if you have questions for Alan. We could then call in the video from John D. Liu. Rafa, do you have that ready? So John is one of the teachers as well, and he couldn't join. I'm not sure, maybe Kath or Ashley, if you want to introduce him before the video.
I can, yeah. So John is a really, really big inspiration to a lot of people. He's the reason why I am here today. He created a documentary called Green Gold, which documented the restoration of a place called the Lus Plateau in China, which is a really, really large area the size of Belgium that was very degraded and super desertified, and it was transformed. People were paid to restore the land by the World Bank, and the before and after shots are out of this world and have transformed the mindsets of many, many people, including myself, that humanity can be a regenerative force on the planet and that ecosystem restoration is possible. And he started ecosystem restoration communities when it was called ecosystem restoration camps back in 2017, because he kept having a recurring dream that people would come together on the land to restore it and camp. So yeah, he's a big deal. I hope that's enough of an intro.
Hello, I'm John Liu, and I'm coming to you from a very chilly Beijing. I've just arrived back from Europe, and I'm really happy to have this opportunity to speak to you as we begin to discuss the next ecosystem restoration design course. When I was young, I had the opportunity to participate in an interview with Deng Xiaoping, the leader of China at the time. this was broadcast on 60 Minutes if you want to go looking for it. Mike Wallace was the correspondent. I was amazed when he said something that has stuck with me all this time. He said, "We're crossing the river by feeling the stones under our feet because we've never gone this way before." And I think that's where we all are right now. That's where human civilization is. And over the 3-4 decades plus that I've covered China's development, I saw that actually transformational change is not just something that's happening, it's an inevitability. Because certain things are happening which, if we're to survive, cannot happen. We're going to have to transform. And ecosystem restoration is something that I saw early on here in China, in the List Plateau and the upper and middle reaches of the Yellow River. And it was just clear that it was possible to rehabilitate large-scale damaged ecosystems. And the fact is, if we can restore large-scale degraded ecosystems, we must do that because we're facing really serious threats, existential threats from climate changes, from biodiversity loss, from hydrological deregulation, from extreme and erratic weather events. And so in that context, nothing else matters. We have to restore ecological function on the planet, or we will face the consequences. We are already facing the consequences. And in this, I've called this the great work of our time, and I believe that each of us has a role to play. And sometimes we're students, and sometimes we're teachers. It just depends on who knows more. And we're all experimenting. We're all crossing the river by feeling the stones underfoot, because we haven't gone this way before. Human civilization has never had over 8 billion people on the planet. And we're forced to learn as we do, as we work to restore ecological function. We know a lot, but let's be clear, there's a lot that we are going to learn on this path. And the things that I've seen so far are that biodiversity, biomass, and accumulated organic material in the soils are the basis of the life support systems on the planet. That's enough for us to start. And as we do this, we learn, yes, there are many ways to infiltrate water into the soil. There are many ways to increase the microbiological and fungal communities in the soil, which make mineral nutrients bioavailable to plants and ultimately animals and ourselves. And that it's possible to restore a climax canopy if we just value it, if we understand that the higher and the more older the trees are, that means the higher the solar radiation is interrupted from hitting the earth. And then the solar radiation is filtered. This is what we need to lower surface temperatures. This is what we need to create microclimates. And we can rapidly and massively increase soil fertility in organic soils, if that's our goal. And when we do that, we massively increase productivity and nutrition levels in food. So all of this is something that is a little bit marginalized in the industrial agricultural systems, because they have followed a kind of antiquated or archaic sort of idea that humans can dominate nature and we can just take what we want and it's okay. Well, it's not. The more we take, the less we have. But nature creates a circular system, one which is self-replicating, which is accumulative. So there's always more biodiversity, always more biomass, and always more accumulated organic material. And this is the basis of evolutionary succession that led to an oxygenated atmosphere, a freshwater system, and fertile soils, and amazing and abundant biodiversity. So we need to understand that humans arrived very late in this equation, and a lot of our behavior throughout our history, which is really short in comparison to evolutionary time or geologic time, Earth time, but we thought we could just take what we wanted, and we altered the systems, and now we're facing the consequences of that. The floodings, the droughts, the wildfires, they're all a logical outcome of human behavior. And if we understand that and we change our behavior, these things are not as big of an issue. And if we don't, they're going to only get worse, because we're seeing them increase in intensity and in frequency all the time now. It's measurable. So I'm so glad that you've chosen to learn more about this. And it's something that once you know it, you can't unknow it. And the more we learn and the more we restore, the better things get for us as individuals, as families, as communities, and the better it is for everyone on the planet. And the fact is, we're going to have to do this together. We're going to have to realize that if we just do this in one country, it's not going to be successful. We're going to have to do this locally where we are, but we're going to have to do this simultaneously everywhere on Earth at the same time. So this is the moment in human history where humanity is understanding and making a decision to restore all degraded lands on the Earth. That's why we're here. That's the great work of our time. And I'm very glad that you are joining in this. And now I know our side will win. Thanks so much for listening, and welcome to the course.
Thanks, Rafa. And thanks to John. Really nice video sharing a little bit about his journey, and very inspiring, like Tanuja just wrote. Now I'm gonna invite one of our former participants, Jürgen. And Jürgen took the course I think on 2021, which was the 3rd edition, and he's a researcher and a lecturer in structural geology, energy geosciences, salt tectonics, neotectonics, and geomechanics. Welcome, Jürgen. If you want to share a little bit about your experience, how has the course impacted you in your life?
Thank you very much, Jan. Nice to see you all again. It's really glad to be here. Just listening to the overview that Ashley provided just reminded me what we all have learned in the course, and it was so amazing and such a fantastic journey. So it's glad to be here and hopefully convince a couple of future students to join. So just to let you know, I'm a geologist for 40 years, and as part of my job, I'm really close to nature. So I really have a close relationship, and geologists see the world very differently from everyone else. So I see Earth's history. We can read rocks like a diary. We can read landscapes. So we understand how nature works on millions of years wherever we go. And this is really an amazing experience. But as a geologist and a scientist, I'm also very close to climate change discussion and the science. And in the last couple of years, there were very upsetting observations coming on, like that we breached our planetary boundaries, and we call this new age Anthropocene, because humans are now the driving geological force on the planet, not plate tectonics anymore. So over the years, there was always this concern, how can we help? How can we do? As a scientist, you feel a little bit frustrated because you can tell everything again and again, and you don't really get forward. And interestingly, I was also quite a happy gardener, and I was gardening for biodiversity and for wildlife in my garden, but I didn't put everything together myself until by accident I ran into John DeLue's videos on YouTube. And I was watching Green Gold that Ashley was referring to, and Hope in Changing Climate, where we have seen his report on the Loess Plateau restoration, an area the size of Belgium, where they took 10 million people out of poverty over 10, 20 years of restoration. And these before and after images are absolutely mind-blowing. And at the end of Green Gold, John was saying, okay, we know now that we can do large-scale ecosystem restoration on degraded land. Now it's our responsibility to do it. And I was saying, wow, this is amazing. Yes, how can I do this? Yeah, how can I contribute beyond my small garden? What do I need to learn? And I watched another long video from John where he was at Techno University of Delft with a student seminar, 2.5 hours or so. And he was really speaking of all aspects of society, what's going wrong, what needs to change. And lots of ideas and puzzle pieces for me fall in place. And I was saying, yes, yeah, how can I move forward? I went to ecosystem restoration camp website at the time because John was referring to, and looked into what they are doing. And I was saying, oh, this is a great community I never have learned from. And then I listened to a Green Dreamer podcast from Ashley, where she was explaining how in their first camp, Altiplano in Spain, they started in regenerating the landscape from deep plowing to seeding to inoculating the soil over time. And I was saying, so this is what you can do. It's a little bit like gardening on big scale and knowing much more than I do. And at this time, I was looking for sources on the webpage, and they linked to the ecosystem restoration design course. I was looking at this and was saying, oh, this is exactly what I'm looking for, because it's a complete overview, not only about restoration techniques, but in all different places globally where you learn, but also the social aspects, the business aspects, agriculture, urban areas, with great practitioners and practitioners in there. I have heard the names when I was studying more and more about this. So I was saying, so this is a really good place to go. And I joined 21. It doesn't feel not so far away, Jan. And you join a fantastic community. I guess this was, for me, was the most important element, You join a big community of like-minded practitioners, teachers, and students that all have in their mindset, I want to help Earth's healing. I want to be positive. I'm positive. We want to move forward together. And this feeling never has left me, even after finishing the course. You are really joining a very big community of like-minded people that want to heal the Earth. Yeah. The discussion was always that in the media or outside, oh, reduce your carbon footprint, reduce your ecological footprint. Don't be such a pain in the neck of the planet Earth. And here it's a completely different way saying, no, improve your carbon footprint, get the carbon into the soil. Oh, improve your ecological footprint. Let's grow as much as possible around you. And this was really a fantastic experience to have the course. I enjoyed really all the different modules, and must say one of my recommendations for future students is there are lots of resources on the different weekly topics, but make sure, if possible, to join into the online lectures when they are scheduled for by the practitioner, and make sure you join the community meetings with your tutors and facilitators, because this is where all the ideas are coming together, where you get this positive feedback, where you can ask questions and make most out of the course. It's not only passive lecturing content towards you, but you can really be very active in participating. And this made a big difference for me. As far as I know, I did not really miss any of the online sessions with the practitioners or the meetings with the facilitators. So as part of the course, just to let you know, every one of you get a facilitator, a personal tutor that is supporting you through the course. And they are wonderful people, and they are so helpful and supportive that it made a really big difference for me. And you meet always in smaller groups with your tutor once a week or every 2 weeks to discuss particular topics of the course and to move forward. And it gives you all the support to really move forward through all the elements. So there's not one module I didn't enjoy. There's not one module that didn't surprise me, even if it has the same structure. What is a sign of degradation? What is a cause of degradation? And how can we regenerate it? This makes it very simple to go through all the modules, and it's really very helpful. But it's also not the technical aspects only. So what are the tools? What do we need to know? It's also always including the social aspect, the community aspect, and how to engage with the people and take them with them. Every practitioner can really share his experience for 10, 20, or 30 years doing this, how they take people with them, how important the community element is. And this is what I needed to learn as a scientist. For me, everything is data, everything is tools, everything is method, technology. No, this is much, much more. And I enjoyed it so much that the project that we did in module 5 was one that was selected. That everyone can propose a topic, and then a set will be selected out of this list by the course facilitators, and they assign groups to this particular projects. And my project is on urban park regeneration here in England, close where I live. And it was selected, and we got a team together, working together on this topic, and developed a design plan how to restore this space with the community on board and community-led. And now we are at the stage that we are discussing with the council the last stages of approval, so that we can start with the community to put this together. So it's a very exciting outcome for me. And since I graduated from the course, I'm really close related to the community and ecosystem restoration foundation. And another big topic for me is educating our students at university in ecosystem restoration design. And now we are discussing with Ashley and others from the foundation how we can introduce ecosystem restoration to our students to make them aware of this really important work and important opportunity. So overall, it has changed my life. Yeah, now I have a different lens to see the world through the lens of ecosystem restoration. I'm even closer to nature, and it has transformed how I interact with people. And I'm so grateful for this course and the facilitators to put this together, because if you just want to get an overview and a really thorough, deep overview, this course is so ideal, but it also ties you to a community, a global community that is so warm, empathic, heart supportive, that you don't leave anymore. So you move forward together afterwards. And the course was a really important entry point for me. I would love to do it again, I must say. It's so much fun. It was a once in a lifetime opportunity. Thank you so much for putting all this hard work in there and putting this together.
That's wonderful to listen to, Jürgen. It makes me even more excited to be here and supporting it, and grateful for the people that put around, like Ashley and the ERC. So wonderful, thank you so much. I want to invite our next guest, which is also an ERD alumni, Iona. If you could, yeah, let me add you. Welcome, Iona. Iona is also from, I'm not sure if you are from UK, but you live in UK, and is a creative scientist, regenerating ecosystem, and utilizing land use to create resource resiliency. So welcome.
Hi everyone. I second everything that Jürgen was saying. This course is amazing, but I'll start with that. My name's Iona Clive. I'm from London, UK, and I'm still here and working. And I'm currently an environmental scientist, sort of landscape designer, integrator at Arup, which is sort of like a civil engineering sustainability consultancy. But I sort of sit between the landscape, ecology, food systems, and like water team. My career, I think I wanted to start with sort of my career and how it started before the course, because I think it sort of tells the story well of how I got there and why it was so valuable for me, and the stages after. So far I've had a very varied experience of in terms of my experience with different mediums and doing different courses, and just like that love to learn, involving interactive design, fashion, digital design, sustainability, regenerative practices, food growing, permaculture, ecosystem restoration, and many other areas around these topics. And I have a real passion for showing, I think it's hard to sort of put myself into any particular like medium or discipline, but in terms of what I aspire to do is to show what is possible, and integrating people and disciplines to achieve like really as much as I can creative and innovative outcomes, both socially and environmentally. Let me also like preface this next bit where with that I was quite put off sciences at school because of my learning difficulties, and even though I found it really fascinating, and I had a love for many things and found it hard to sort of fit into a box, in education and work. And I'll start with how I ended up finding out about ecosystem restoration campus course. I left school at 16 and decided to do early stage university course called a pre-foundation course in art design, and I ended up then attending Central St Martin's, which is quite a famous art university, at 17, a year earlier than you would usually, and specializing more in graphic communication design. And I was very interested at this point in a mix of spatial design, architecture, interior design, cognitive sort of cognitive sciences, and as well as like sustainability from a very, very young age, but also very fascinated by the way that space could help change people's perspective and perception on the world and themselves. And I decided to attend a course in interactive design art, which was a bachelor's, and in the UK a bachelor's is sort of what you do your main sort of degree in the UK after school, which was like a mixed media course, very open to exploring, physical creation and also technological capabilities. And I ended up pulling out of the course for personal reasons and traveled for a bit to think about what I really wanted to do. And I attended a variety of courses, autonomically biological focused, permaculture, sustainable community building, which was at Gaia Education, and a couple others with also doing a lot of my own research. The Gaia course actually developed, well, I think it gave me the space or a new space to adventure into, which was sort of community building, both physically and psychologically, and loved the idea of creating spaces where nature and people can thrive together. With that, I attended another course with Gaia Education on facilitation, because I was really fascinated by the way that you can help to formulate groups that will help people co-create better and will feel better in community and the power of community, and helping to facilitate that, which I thought was just such a beautiful thing. And I attended that at Findhorn in Scotland. And I was, obviously before this, but I was aware of the devastation happening, obviously, around the world, especially speeding up in the last, in the last 10, 15 years, and how ecosystems are being impacted and landscapes are being destroyed. And I saw the ecosystem restorations course and thought it was perfect for the combination of interests I had, in nature, in space, spatial design, in all the sort of, how it would help socially and people. And so the course, going on to the course, the course was incredibly informative and inspirational for me, at giving like a larger picture of the potential of the field. I found love for each and every module. Honestly, I tried to take as much as I could, from including contacts and resources and content. I especially liked the module around Common Lands Framework, because it was strategic, but also creative and integrated different social, environmental and economic components in a landscape context. And I also really enjoyed the project work at the end, because that's where my interest and fascination for restoring highly degraded, disturbed sites came from. And I'm, to this day, still incredibly passionate about very arid sort of regions and how we can start to, restart primary succession and allow communities to go back and be able to thrive once again. I really enjoyed that project work. It was very valuable in so many ways to, just in terms of being able to do, excuse me, a project in another country, even though unfortunately it was during COVID and I couldn't go. But it was in Morocco, and it was about regenerating ecosystems, by first starting primary succession, planting, creating water management plans, and then going on then afterwards to eventually help farmers grow regeneratively on their land and bringing back local culture and communities. It was really lovely, lovely team of people, and it also really connected me with others in a time I felt very alone during COVID. So that was, very, very thankful for that. And the course gave me a lot of inspiration to look for a course further on from that, because it really gave me just a lot to go from, and a lot to go with, and carry on my journey. And it drove me to being able to find a master's in ecosystem restoration, which seems quite rare in the UK. Found pretty much, I think, the only course at that time on specifically ecosystem restoration, which was at the Eden Project, which if you don't know the Eden Project, it's a sort of famous for its large biomes, rainforests and Mediterranean biomes. And it used to be an old quarry site, which has been restored. And I didn't think, I didn't have a bachelor's. Usually you're not considered onto a master's without a bachelor's. So it was really the combination of courses and the work that I did with ecosystem restoration camps, and the learnings and the work that I did at the end with the project that really helped, you know, allow me to get to be accepted onto that course. So I really owe them so much to, you know, giving me that that lift up. And I, you know, I didn't, yeah, so it was incredibly, yeah, I'm incredibly thankful for that. And after the course, the course leader accepted me onto the course, and even with the course's complications, because it being quite new, it was still so perfect for me, and it gave me, you know, so much experience learning about UK context restoration, and gave me time to learn, you know, scientific literature and understand more in depth into like ecological and landscape processes. And I ended up getting a distinction, so that was good. But then, yeah, so this now led me to obviously getting my job here, and it has been an amazing road trip so far. And I've been involved in such a breadth of projects all around the world, and all around restoration and habitat creation, and also focusing on urban parks, and restoration of rivers, catchment scale sort of restoration. And yeah, it's I mean, and I really can owe it all to ecosystem restoration camps, really, to allowing me to get into that master's, and then being able to get a job like I have, that really fulfills me and allows me to be able to work in so many different contexts. So yeah, that's that's me.
That's such a beautiful story, Iona. I haven't spoken to you for a few years, so to hear the different stepping stones and our role in that is really beautiful, and I'm super happy for you. Yay, thanks for being here.
Thanks for the invite.
Yeah. Cool. So now we're going to hear from Dan Blycroft, who is a teacher on the course, and he teaches about tiny forests as a solution for regreening our cities and bringing biodiversity back into them. Welcome, Dan. Nice to see you again.
Same to you.
Yeah, it would be great to hear from you a bit about your background and what your lesson is about.
Yeah, sure. So, well, I'm Dan, just like Ashley said. For the past 13 years, I've been working at IVN Environmental Education. Yesterday was my last day there, so I'm moving on to new things, but I'll tell more about that later. But I think it was about 7 or 8. Well, I have a background that's very unnormal for ecosystem restoration. I did business administration and hospitality management, but I did end up at IVN Environmental Education. I think because I had a big passion for nature ever since I was a little kid. So I think it was a couple of years, about 8 or 9 years ago, I ran into a video, a TED Talk by an industrial engineer, Shubhendu Sharma, who worked at Toyota, and he showed how Miyawaki, a Japanese professor, came to his plant and created a restorative forest to offset the carbon emissions there. And he became a volunteer, and then was so excited about the results that he planted a tiny forest in his backyard. It was just 100 square meters, and he just showed pictures of this dry red land that nothing was living there. And within 2 years, I think 12, 13 different bird species showed up. He was able to harvest local fruits. The groundwater didn't dry up anymore. So I was very moved by that video, because I thought, well, once something's destroyed, it's lost forever. And just like John Liu shows in Green Gold. And I saw that documentary too, but it seemed so daunting to tackle a project like that. And then Shubhendu showed me, you don't have to do it big, you can do it tiny. So I was instantly caught by the forest because I grew up as a kid. I spent days and days roaming the forest, playing there, connecting with life. But I was also aware that the Netherlands, it's a country where I live. It's the one of the most densely populated places in the world. It's heavily urbanized, and I met in my work at IVN. I met a lot of children who never go to nature. I think we did a research. It came out last week, and about half of kids in the Netherlands don't feel connected to nature. Yeah, that's kind of scary in the biodiversity and the climate crisis that half of the people don't really seem to know and seem to care. And I think the tiny forest, that was my main reason I wanted to do this, because I thought this is a way of reconnecting them with woodlands, a tiny woodland that they can go to every day if it's on their schoolyard. And we created an education program, the Tiny Forest Rangers, to help them plant the forest, maintain the forest, monitor the biodiversity, and they do all the tasks an actual ranger does. So the maintenance in the forest, and they show people around the forest. They pick up litter. So yeah, that's what I've done. And then I think about 2 or 3 years ago, Ashley asked me while we're doing this course, which sounded amazing. I'm still a big fan of it, and the impact it's had. She asked me to do one of the modules on how to do this, create a tiny native woodland in your backyard, in a schoolyard, a business park. So I've been focused on the urban environment, well, because the Netherlands is basically one big city, especially the area where I live. So that's what I'm trying to do, to bring back tiny woodlands into cities. And also it's a pleasure to share what I've learned throughout the years, because I think 7 years ago I had never planted a tree, and I've learned so much about soil ecology, about native species, about water. So yeah, it's been an amazing journey. So happy to share that with everybody here, and hopefully you'll plant a tiny forest or do something else with all the wonderful teacher and example projects.
Gorgeous, thank you, Dan. And I know for a fact that many of the students have created tiny forests as a result, which is really lovely.
Yeah, it's catching on. It's a big movement throughout the world now. I think a couple of weeks ago, the New York Times did a big article on the mini forest movement across the world. So it's very contagious. So yeah, so and it's easy to do. Within a year you can get one done.
Yeah, well, let's keep going. Let's keep spreading.
Let's do that.
Thanks for your time.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dan.
Welcome.
And that brings us back to the course itself. And I'm gonna just quickly share a little bit about how it works. So it's 5 modules as Ashley shared. And so in order for you to complete the course, you need to do the final design. You can complete different modules, but in order to get the final certificate, you need to get to module 5. And the way it works is that you need to finish at least modules 1, 2, or 3, and then complete modules 4 and 5. So you have 2 possibilities. You can do the 5 modules, or you can do one of the first 3 modules and then modules 4 and 5. So this is one piece of information of how the course works. And another thing is that we have Natalie, a facilitator, and she is a really amazing facilitator. She has been with us for a long time, and she has been supporting the students in the journey. And she will be supporting you in case you decide to take this course. Unfortunately, she couldn't join today. She lives in Thailand, so the time zone for her wouldn't work. But she did prepare a short video to just introduce herself and we'll be sharing it now. And yeah, then we will continue just quickly sharing. We plan to be for another 15 to 20 minutes. I hope you can stick with us. If not, you can watch the recording later. So yeah, there you go.
Hello, my name's Natalie. I'm the facilitator for Ecosystem Restoration Design by Gaia Education and Ecosystem Restoration Communities. I've been working on this program now for 3 years. I'm a permaculture designer and I live in Thailand, so I specialize in tropical ecosystems and natural building. I love this program not only because of the amazing speakers we have who are real world practitioners who have led projects. So we get to hear what they did, why they did it, also what went wrong and what they really want other people who follow in their footsteps to know before they start a project. So we get to stand on the experience and learn from these amazing practitioners. And the participants as well who join our program, they're amazing people from all over the world, and they might be ready to step into a project of their own, or they might be looking to learn more about ecosystem restoration before deciding which direction to take. Either way, our community of participants is really rich and knowledgeable, and that's one of the things that makes this program so special. We all go through the program at the same pace, so we get to talk about the subjects and topics each week. We also have question and answers from our speakers, and I'll give you feedback as you go through the program. I'm here to help you get the most out of your learning journey, and I look forward to seeing you very soon inside our program.
So that's Nat, and so the next information I want to share is the date. It starts in February, and as Natalie mentioned, it's a paced course. So we start with module 1, and then 8 weeks later, module 2 starts, and then 8 weeks later, module 3, and that's how it goes. And that's a little bit of how I want to share also how the logistics inside the course works. You have a forum where you can share your reflections with your colleagues, and we have the content of the material that you go through, mostly in the paced way where you can be reading the same thing as your colleagues at the same time and sharing the same things, so you can all support each other in your journey. And then you have the sessions with your facilitator, your live sessions, which it's created to support you in case you have questions or needs. And my colleague Sylvia, she supports also the logistics piece. She's not here, but I'll put her email and mine in case you have any question around the course. It's very simple. It's just our name, Sylvia at Gaia Education and Ian at Gaia Education. So if you have any question around timing or registration, you can ask us. So I think that overall, that is all I wanted to share before we go to some questions, if there are some. So perhaps we can go back to gallery view and then we can all see each other.
That would be nice.
Gallery. Are we in gallery view for everyone? No, almost there. I think we are now.
Yeah. Hey everyone.
That looks better.
Good to see all your faces.
Hello, everybody. I would have an organizational question because I'm very keen. To quickly introduce myself, my name is Max. Originally, I'm from Austria and I'm currently based in Denmark. And I would say my specialization is urban rewilding. And therefore I'm also quite keen on the specialization in the urban ecosystem that you offer in this course. And I was wondering if I can just do the model 3, 4, 5, or do I also need to do the model 1 and 2?
Yeah, good question. So yeah, you can do that, because the only obligation that you have is that you must have 1, 2, or 3 in order to take 4 and 5, because 4 and 5 are more practical sides, and 1, 2, and 3 are the sort of inspiration that you will work on. So you must take at least one of those 3, or you can take all of them.
Cool, thank you very much. And I would have another question regarding that, if it's possible. That would be about the urban restoration model specifically, because you mentioned in the beginning that it's about waterways, and I was curious if it's about, like, if waterways is it going to be the main focus, or does it also involve other topics than just that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, each module has 4 lessons apart from module 5. And each lesson is a different type of ecosystem restoration. So the urban module is no different. There are 4 different types of urban restoration within that module. The first is restoring urban waterways. There's the tiny forests lesson that Dan was just telling us about. So how to create tiny forests in cities. Then you've got urban food growing, how it's done, but also some insights from someone who's been doing it for a long time on how to make it financially viable in such a small space. And there is the lesson on restorative architecture. Is that 4? Tiny forests, urban food growing, urban waterways, and restorative architecture.
Yeah, that's been 4 in total. Thank you very much for answering the question, Ashley.
You're welcome.
Wonderful. And Stefan, you have a question.
Yeah, hi, thank you. Yeah, just to introduce myself, I guess I'm Stéphane Pressot from Ottawa, Canada. Among other things, I farm and work as on different projects on a large endowment fund supporting reduction of greenhouse gases across the country. Question around timing. I've had experiences in these international online courses that coming from the Eastern time zone in North America is not always the best times. How are you going to be like juggling time zones and especially for the live sessions?
That's a very good question, and ever learning one. We are ever learning about it because of our many international courses. But the way we try is setting up different times throughout the course for the facilitator to offer the sessions and recording them. So, and also creating space where you can bring in your questions, even though you can't join the session. So the facilitator can respond to the question, and then you can watch afterwards. That's one way that we try, because we have participants from all over the world, and we try to suit that as best as possible. I hope that answers. And we have another question from the chat from Casper. How many hours of studying should I set aside for each module? It's a good question. So it really depends on your engagement. You of course you have some assignments that you have to do, but we say that it's around 5 to 7 hours a week of study. That would be it. It can be more, but yeah. Do you have any insight to share around that, Ashley? Or someone that took actually the course also could share.
Yeah, maybe Jürgen, you could share with us how you juggled it with your busy job.
Yeah, happy to do so. Luckily, I was on a sabbatical, so I could manage. But I would expect that you need probably to go through the weekly materials. You need probably 3-4 hours, and then you have seen also some of the resources that are part of the course. I just believe it's really helpful if you can manage to attend the live section of the practitioner, because you can interact with them. This is really very helpful. But I remember for my course, the tutor groups were set up and dispersed across the time zones. So there will be a tutor group for North America where all of you guys can work more comfortably to your time zone. And this worked really very well. I know that my facilitator was Na from Thailand, so she joined the European tutor group to do this, and it worked also very well. So I believe the time zone issue is not a particular problem. What needs a bit more time is when you do the coursework for a particular week. This may need another 2-3 hours of sitting down and thinking about this problem. But quite a lot of work is also done in the tutor groups, where there is support and you can ask questions, and the facilitator is explaining what is really required. And I found this super, super helpful for me to move forward in my tutor group, with the facilitator, in the larger community, on the forum, to move forward. And the coursework you post then for the week on the forum, and you get feedback and support from all the other participants, and you can comment on the coursework of others. And this was incredible. You got so many ideas out of this, and you really felt part of a larger family. And I'm still feeling a part of this huge family, and you will never leave it. But yeah, if you can attend the live lecture somehow, even if you are in a very unfortunate time zone, it's preferable to looking at the recording, but it will do the same. And the tutor groups are being tailored to your time zone, so you have much more flexibility. 4 or 5 hours per week for listening, 2-3 hours for the coursework I would put in to stay on top of everything.
Thanks, Jürgen. Just when you took the course, we had a few different facilitators. This time we will only have Na, so that will be a little different. But yeah, the community meetings, as I mentioned, they will be separated in different times, so everyone from different places in the world have the chance to join. Just responding to your question in the chat, Max. And yeah, we have space perhaps for one or more or two more questions, and then we can wrap up.
Asked one in the chat. I think we should answer that. Oh, we just answered that one, sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Ignore me.
Florian, so I'm gonna read your question. What is the deadline to sign up, and is there a limit of participants? There's no limit of participants, and the deadline would be a week after the course starts, which is not the best. We keep the registrations open 1 week after the course, but the ideal is that you register before the course starts. And one thing I want to mention is that probably you have seen in the chat something around a promotion code for this particular information session. We've created a promotion discount code for the people that are participating on this session, and you can register with that link until Monday. And we have a limited number of seats for those discounts. Just wanted to bring that up. And then you have your hand up. I don't know your name, but feel free to.
Hello, it's Alistair. Alistair, I live in Belgium. Hello, everyone. I've got a couple of questions. I'm interested to know because I have no kind of technical qualifications that seem relevant to this. I'm doing a kind of transition in my own life at the moment. I work as a translator. But so that's my main question is it suitable for someone who doesn't have any knowledge of botany. I'm very passionately interested in nature, and I have a few ideas, and I've also done a permaculture course once as well. I've done some things, but I'm not in any way an expert, and I'd be interested to know what you think about that. Yeah, that's the main question.
Alistair was your name.
Alistair.
Alistair.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a great question, and I love answering this question because I also didn't have a background in ecosystem restoration or any sort of science when I started out on this path. My background was in English literature, and everything that I now know I've learned myself from various resources out there, as well as physically doing some of this restoration work on the ground. And I'm really passionate about empowering everyday people to step into this world. That's what the ERC was created to do. So this very much is a course for people like yourself. You don't need to have any sort of knowledge. It's been catered to bring a new cohort of people in to the world of ecosystem restoration. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. If I could follow that up with another quick question. I noticed that there's a lot of variety geographically as well. It's from tropical forests through to different areas in the water, oceans. If I'm living in Belgium and all the use I would make of this course is local, ultimately for me, to what extent is it universal? The things you learn about other places and other projects, how relevant can it be to the things I might end up doing in the Ardennes in Belgium, for example? Is it worth doing all the modules, or is it really better to cherry pick a bit and do what seems most appropriate?
I would say that there will be relevant applicable takeaways in every lesson, but you'll always learn something that will be relevant to you, whether it's, and I'm thinking about the coral reefs example, creating artwork to bring people in, to teach them and excite them about restoration is something that you could easily do in Belgium. How to work with local people, how to work with journalists, these are all things that they speak about in this coral reef lesson. It's the personal kind of stories and journeys of these practitioners, which is really fascinating. It's not just about the actual techniques of restoring the ecosystem. So I do think that there's a lot of replicable stuff in each lesson. But saying that, you don't have to do all of the modules. I know that Alan always says, even though his examples are from Scotland, a lot of what he teaches is extremely replicable. I'm wondering if you want to say anything to that, Alan.
Sure. Thanks. I was thinking it'd be good to say something briefly. I just want to preface it by saying I'm very much in the same situation as yourself, Alistair, and Ashley. When I started my work, I had no prior experience in ecology or conservation or anything like that. I had a token degree in electronics from university in the early 70s, which I never used. I got disillusioned very quickly. And I was searching for something. And the thing I've really learned is follow my heart, follow my passion. What do I really care about? Because that's what the restoration is really. It's a labor of love. It's giving something back to nature. Our society is so good at taking more. And now we have to learn to give something back. And it's exploration. I mean, I was really touched by the little film clip from John Liu, where he quoted Deng in China saying, we're feeling our way over the stones in the riverbed, and we're all feeling our way. And we've all got a unique path to make, to follow. And I've been exploring that for me, and you will have your unique path to follow as well. But we're all in that same direction. And I think we can each learn from one another that way, how we face those challenges and obstacles, how we rise up to meet what's in front of us. And certainly in my work, I've always sought to draw out general principles, and I have a set of 14 principles of ecological restoration, which are general. They can be applied anywhere. So I hope that's useful and helpful to you.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Alan. And as we are approaching our time, perhaps we can listen to one more question. I see that Maj, you have your hand up.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm very grateful and happy to be here. I'm very happy that I've found like a kind of family, because I was also a civil engineer, my background, and then my interest in sustainable lifestyle led me to sustainable housing. I did a course in airship, and then from there I learned that to be sustainable, you need to also learn how to produce food, which is a more important part of it. And then that led me to farming, regenerative agriculture, climate change, and I was like, yeah, I did some courses in syntropic farming and also holistic management to be able to do soil restoration. And I was desperately looking like for a kind of center, like information center, that I can ask my question. That I think in one of the YouTube videos that I heard it from Ashley, she mentioned that that's what they're doing. They're helping people to reduce their fees for their experiment. So yeah, I'm very grateful that I found you guys, and I'm definitely want to do the course. And so yeah, I just want to say that thank you. And yeah, so I was also had a bit different background, but now I'm interested because I'm very happy that I'm doing something for climate change and for our origin, Mother Earth. So it's very beautiful. Yeah, happy to meet you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. That's very lovely. I see that there's one question. Sorry,
I just said nice to meet you too.
I was just going to mention that Camilla asked, is it the same setup as the Full GETS program? So the Full GETS is a Gaia Education Design for Sustainability course, and it takes a year long, and it's in the same platform, I would say, but not exactly the same setup. You can feel familiar with the platform if you have taken the GETS before, but it's a different setup. The kind of material, the way that material is presented is different. The presenters come in video, which doesn't happen in the GETS. And yeah, so that it's a little bit different, even though it's in the same platform. So it's a different experience. And yeah, I think we can wrap up for today. I want to just acknowledge and appreciate everyone's presence. And yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for the presenters, for the former students. It's always lovely to see you again.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, everyone. Hope to see some of you on the course.
Thank you.
Did you want to